So, of course, to challenge Jesus, temple authorities often sent people. They might send lawyers, they might send scriptural experts out with questions to sort of challenge Jesus. And one day, they brought a woman accused of adultery to him. And you're probably familiar with the story, so I don't need to go into great detail on it. But basically, they said, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law says she should be stoned. What should we do? And of course, Jesus turned right around and said, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And that seems like, well, that's that. Okay. Jesus, pointed that sort of accusation back at them, and it taught them all a lesson. But there was more to it than that. The honest take is that Jesus was also still challenging the authority of that law unto itself. He was saying, okay, if this is the law and average people are expected to sort of be accusing each other and bringing each other to justice and dragging people in front of the religious authorities, and no one's without sin, what about the law itself? How does that stand up in the eyes of God? And basically what Jesus determined, and they said he bent down and wrote in the sand, and I said, what I said in the book I've written is that I think he bent down and wrote, you don't own this. You don't own the law. That if the law doesn't point toward justice, if it doesn't point toward goodness, if it doesn't point toward what God would want for that person, in essence, Jesus still offered forgiveness. He was always looking to offer a path back to God. And the religious authorities were not only blocking that, they were taking matters into their own hand, casting judgment on this woman and many others, and ending their lives. There's a lot of debate about the death penalty in the world. When is it just? And you think about, okay, back then, here comes a woman, got caught cheating. Was the guy who was cheating with her accused too? There's always more to the story. And yes, some crimes are so heinous, they really, really challenge us. There's no question about that. But what Jesus was truly saying in that moment, the honest to goodness take on that judgment in that moment, was that nobody there was really qualified to determine the nature of that woman's soul. He later did the same thing for a woman at a well who, had 4 husbands. And he offered her living water, which was a method of forgiveness. So he's very consistent on this. And that is the honest to goodness aspect of the kingdom of God. And when we think about that, it calls us to be more judicious than judgmental. And that's the honest approach to all this.